Christopher Ddamulira yakulira Cmi Embuya ewamba abantu ewamba bannayuganda etulugunya n'okutta n'okukola ebikolobero byonna ku bannayuganda drone ezo ennaku zino ali mu ghetto naye kati nno agava Bungereza UK ebyesi birungi n'akamu kubanga ate giwunye buwunya lwa bikolobero byakoze ensangi zino okuwamba abaana b'abandi ali mu kufeesa.
In Uganda as we speak today. That's why we are standing here, to expose him and to kindly ask the UK government to stop the funding and the training of the military thugs from Uganda. 42 years in power is more than enough. Uganda has suffered at the hands of this brutal dictator. Museveni, the junta of Uganda, 42 years cannot be democracy. 42 years doesn't represent human rights. All your taxpayers' money from the UK goes to Uganda and goes to aid the military junta. In Uganda, it's the only country in Africa where you don't have a working hospital, where there are no schools, where there are no roads, but the brutal dictator is being given £1 billion every year. He is the richest man in Africa, 13.5 billion pounds rich. But still the UK takes your taxpayer and my taxpayers' money to fund the brutal dictator of Uganda. People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
NUP.
We are here to expose Christopher Ddamulira, Mariam, a Sadhas trained so-called soldier, turned to be a murderer in Uganda. Ddamulira and Museveni. Ddamulira.
Christopher Ddamulira.
And Muhozi. These are the people at the forehand of murdering, torturing, kidnapping, raping, sodomizing Ugandans. And we are here today, standing at our own building, but a representative of repression in Uganda. We are here to show you some of the evil this man has done to Uganda. 42 years of dictatorship in Uganda. 42 years of murder in Uganda. 42 years of the brutal dictator Museveni of Uganda. The junta of Uganda. Museveni, a murderer. We are here today to expose his crimes against humanity. We are not here because we are jobless.
Make sure you share
we are
it, yeah?
here because of the cause. That this man holding his poster is a son-husband soldier, trained, but when he went back to Uganda, he's a murderer. He's killing Ugandans. He's murdering Ugandans. He's raping Ugandans. And this is a son-husband trained in the UK, the best military academy in the world. That's why we are here today, to call on the UK government to stop the training of the junta thugs from Uganda. People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
NUP.
That's why today we are here as Ugandans, to condemn the human rights abusers in Uganda, to condemn the kidnapping of Ugandans in Uganda on a daily basis by the brutal dictator Museveni and his commander Ddamulira Christopher, a UK trained at Sandhurst. That's why we are here with his poster today. This is the notorious man involved in the murdering of Ugandans, the kidnapping of Ugandans in Uganda. People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
NUP.
We are here today as a Ugandan community in the UK.
Yes.
To stand and represent the 47 million Ugandans who cannot demonstrate, who cannot stand on the street as we are standing today, to expose the human rights abuses in Uganda.
Yeah.
To expose the criminality, the injustice in Uganda.
The impunity.
The impunity in Uganda. Corruption in Uganda. With no accountability. Your money is sent to Uganda to make the brutal dictator richer and richer. At a cost of 13.5 billion rich, still the UK is sending your money and my money to Uganda. That money is being used
country in the
good
world.
causes here in the UK by supporting our policemen and making sure that our homeless brothers and sisters have got accommodation instead of sending our money to the brutal junta in Uganda. We've been living under the junta regime for the last 42 years. In the UK, we've changed 13 prime ministers. In Uganda, we are still living under the same junta, the military dictator, Museveni of Uganda. 42 years is more than enough.
Look at him.
We live under brutal dictator, Museveni of Uganda.
Old.
We live under brutal junta, Museveni of Uganda. We live under the brutal dictatorship for the last 42 years. And that's why today we are here to expose that the UK shouldn't be funding, supporting the brutal dictator of Uganda, Museveni.
True.
They shouldn't be training the military thugs from Uganda.
No.
We've got an example. The post I'm holding in my hand.
Yeah.
Christopher Mariamung is a Sandhurst-trained soldier. But when he went back to Uganda, he's the head of criminal intelligence, whereby Ugandans, men and women, are being tortured to death. Men and women are being raped. Men and women are being murdered by the Sandhurst-trained soldier. That's why today we are here trying to expose the brutal dictator. Trying to highlight that we should stop the training of military thugs from Uganda. M23 in Congo.
This is the man we're fighting. So that's the man. That's the dictator.
M23 in Eastern DRC Congo is being armed by
40 years in power.
Your taxpayers' money is going to arm a rebellion in the Congo.
There's so many big TVs here. And there are so many demonstrations goes in this country. But some TVs, those big TVs, like a BBC, like whatever, they can go on other demonstrations. But they never come on ours. Can I say that you don't see us? Or you don't hear us? Because I never see any big TV here. Do we need to call you?
Yes.
Or you are supporting as well? I call everybody who has humanity in himself to come and join us and send away this brutal dictator. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, thank you. People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
NUP.
We are Ugandan community who are standing in front of the so-called Uganda High Commission, a representative of repression in Uganda, being supported by the brutal dictator, the junta of Uganda, Museveni.
This house we are standing
from Uganda. For some of you who doesn't know where Uganda stands, Uganda is a beautiful country in Africa, very rich in minerals, but being misruled by a brutal dictator, a junta who has been in power for the last 42 years. Most of you are not born yet that time. Ugandans have been suffering, being tortured. Women are being raped. Men are being sodomized in Uganda. When we talk about democracy in Uganda, it's just history. For the last 42 years, the junta in Uganda, the brutal dictator Museveni, the richest man in Africa, at a cost of 13.5 billion rich.
Imagine.
This is your money. That is my money. You send to Uganda every day, funding, supporting the brutal dictator of Uganda. 42 years in power is more than enough. 42 years of dictatorship in Uganda. We've had dictators around the world, but we have the longest brutal junta in Uganda. Museveni, the brutal dictator, the kidnapper, the murderer, a man who lives on blood. We are talking about democracy. 42 years cannot be called democracy. In the UK, we've changed 13 prime ministers. In Uganda, we still live under the same brutal dictator. For the last 42 years,
can you
the
imagine?
junta is still in power.
Can you imagine?
In America, they've changed 9 presidents. In Uganda, the same brutal dictator. When you talk about democracy in the UK, that is double standard. You are sending £1 billion to Uganda to support this brutal dictator, to make this brutal dictator stay and serve his long time in power. The money you send to Uganda goes to build death torture chambers where men and women are being tortured to death, where men and women are being murdered, where men and women are being killed. This is Uganda. We are standing at the repression. This is, in other words, is a crime scene where we are standing. The flag you see represents repression in Uganda. The flag you see represents blood in Uganda. The flag you see represents dictatorship in Uganda. For the last 42 years, Ugandans are living under this brutal dictator. Even the brutal dictator of Burma is better than the brutal dictator in Uganda. At least in Burma, you have got schools, you have got hospitals, but not in Uganda. But you talk about the Burmese dictator, but you don't talk about Museveni of Uganda. The junta of Uganda, a military dictator who has been in power for the last 42 years. Your tax money and my tax money is making this brutal dictator to become richer and richer. 13.5 billion rich, the richest man in Africa.
Imagine.
This is the richest man in Africa.
In the very poorest country in the country.
Is still funding this brutal dictator. Still the UK is training the military thugs who are raping Ugandans on daily basis. The UK is supporting and training the military evil thugs from Uganda. This picture I'm holding in my hands, this brutal man, he was trained in Sandhurst. And this is the commander of the CMI in Uganda, where Ugandans are being tortured, where Ugandans are being murdered, women are being raped by these specialists, military trained in the UK. He gained his training in Sandhurst. And this is the same man torturing Ugandans.
Yeah.
And that's why today we are here, calling on the UK government.
This guy is
himself.
This is how he arrests people.
From Uganda. To stop the funding of the military thugs from Uganda.
This man.
He is the commander of the special forces.
Yeah, that is it.
Ugandans have been tortured. He was trained in the UK by the UK taxpayers' money. Your money and my money go to train militias. This is the commander of the special forces called Ddamulira Christophe. His names are called Ddamulira Christophe, the notorious commander in Uganda.
Yeah.
The man who kidnaps Ugandans on daily basis.
Expose
the man
him.
who is raping women in Uganda. This is his picture.
We need to expose him.
Trained at Sandhurst, the best military academy in the world. This is where this money is coming from. This is where this man was trained. This is a brutal murderer, a rapist, a kidnapper, a man who has tortured Ugandans. Christopher Ddamulira, Mariam.
Power.
People power.
Ugandans, citizens of the world.
Yeah.
We are here today at the Uganda House, being the representative of the country of Uganda. Uganda is currently undergoing through violent human rights violations, abductions, kidnappings, torture, and killing. And we are saying today, we've had enough of that. Therefore, we call upon the citizens of the world not to abandon Uganda. We know the eyes of the world are focused elsewhere, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, but we ask you, the citizens of the world, to pay attention to Uganda. Uganda is being ruled by a brutal junta of Museveni and his son and his brother and his wife. Uganda is never decided to have a family rule. It's not a monarchy.
No.
It's a country.
Yes.
A republic.
Yeah.
Therefore, we stand for democracy. We stand for freedom. We stand for liberty, just like any other citizens of the world.
True.
We call upon you, Europe, the United Kingdom, the United States, and all peace-loving citizens of the world to pay attention to what is going on in Uganda. Uganda has suffered enough. 42 years under one brutal dictator who came via the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
We've had enough of the suffering, bloodletting, and torturing and kidnappings, maiming, and everything else that you can think of.
Yeah.
We want democracy in Uganda. We want freedom. We want liberty. We are not here because we want to be here. We have a country that is beautiful, peace-loving, and that's what we want. We want to go back to our country.
The power of
So
Africa.
we know, we are aware that so much is going on in the world.
Yeah.
Therefore, we want to make our country a better place so that we can go. We would be here advocating for people to go and visit Uganda, but we cannot do that. We cannot do that because it's not peaceful out there.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Unfortunately.
People who are ruling over there are not legitimate. They are gunmen, thugs, criminals. They should be in The Hague. They should be in The Hague in front of the International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
But the world is not paying attention to that.
No.
We are calling upon you, the world, the citizens of the world, to pay attention to what is going on in the country of Uganda.
Yes.
We are Ugandans here protesting against all the criminality that being perpetrated by one family of Museveni, his son, his brother, his in-laws, his wife, and everyone else. We are tired of that.
We're
We are
tired.
tired of that.
We are.
We call upon you, peace
Beyond
lovers
tired. We're
in the
beyond
world,
tired.
to stand with Uganda, to stand with Africa, Congo, near Congo,
Yeah.
Sudan. So many terrible things are happening over
Even
there.
Kenya.
The world seems to be paying a blind eye. It's the time now the world stood for democracy and everything else they profess to stand for. The values in democracy, in freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly.
Democrats shouldn't be
Over here we
selective.
can stand here and protest. In Uganda we can't do that. That's why we are here. We call upon you, citizens of the world, to stand with us, Ugandans. As a community here, we would like to go back and develop our country, Uganda. We've been here long enough. We want to go back to a peaceful country, but we can't do that. We can't. The brutal dictator has stopped every human right. He's violated every human right. It's the time now the world stood with us to fight for democracy, to stop the killing, to stop the rape of the country. Women and men are being sodomized. It's the time now to put a stop to that. The UK government colonized Uganda. It's the time now the UK stood for what they preach. It's the time now the UK preaches what to practice what they preach. At the moment, the UK is not practicing what they preach. If they preach democracy, if they preach freedom, if they preach human values, human rights, it's the time now to put that to practice.
Yeah.
People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
We are Ugandans here in the UK who have been suffering inhuman treatment. We want the world to pay attention, to be able to tell Museveni and his family to stop the dehumanization of the citizens.
Yes.
There's so many killings, kidnapping, torturing, abductions, and the world is looking the other way. They're focusing elsewhere. We Ugandans are as human as everyone else. Therefore, we call upon the world, Europe, America, and citizens of the world to pay attention to Uganda. People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
People
Thank
power.
you. Our power.
Our power.
People power.
NUP.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
NUP.
7 must go.
Kale byebyo ebivudde mu ggwanga lya Bungereza ne Ddamulira Christopher akulira Cmi ebikolwa byakoze ku bannayuganda kati ensi etandise okubackfiringira simanyi watudde bajjo twalabye abaana bajja ebifaananyi bya famire ye bulijjo byakwesa ebbanga eddene ndabeka akatemberera nga balaga amaka ga nnyina gy'abeera awo nno manya abantu batandise okulondoola ebyaddala bali serious bakooye ebikolwa byokola abantu bagenda ne beefuula nga bo batalina bazadde abatalina baana batalina family nti bo bava mu gunne bagwa nti bo tebalina balumwa naye abantu batandika okuteekako embeera eyo awo n'ompulirira embaga otusanga n'aba ng'atereezaamu ku mbeera gy'alimu naye kati ne mweza takkiriza wakugendayo lwa bikolobero byakola.